You can almost smell it, that faint haze of fried onions, damp coal, and steam rising from terraced streets on a grey Monday evening. The sound of kettles whistling through cracked kitchen windows, the rattle of pans, the shuffle of boots by the back door. This was the music of working Britain, and food was its heartbeat. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't pretty, but every plate told a story. Of hands that built, hearts that endured, and kitchens that turned scarcity into comfort. These weren't just meals, they were monuments made of gravy and grit, the taste of resilience, of home. You can almost see it now. The kettle hissing beside a stove blackened with age, a mother stirring something thick and bubbling, the smell filling the room before a single word was spoken. Because food wasn't just eaten, it was felt. It wrapped around you like a blanket after a long shift, reminding you that life might be hard, but dinner was waiting. Meal 1. Bubble and squeak. Born from leftovers, it was proof that nothing was wasted. Cold cabbage and potatoes fried into golden crispness. It tasted of Monday mornings when yesterday's roast found a second life. You'd hear that familiar sizzle as the week began again. The scent drifting down narrow streets lined with washing and laughter. Then came Meal 2, liver and onions. Rich, hearty, and unmistakable. Not everyone's favorite, perhaps, but for generations it meant nourishment. The onions fried till they turned sweet and soft. The gravy dark as soot, served on enamel plates in factory canteens or at the end of a long shift. It was fuel for bodies that didn't stop. And who could forget Meal 3 toad in the hole? Sausages baked in a golden batter that puffed and curled at the edges. There was a kind of theatre in it, watching it rise in the oven, hoping it wouldn't sink. A humble meal, yet somehow magical. The sort of dish that turned an ordinary evening into a small celebration. Meal 4. Corned beef hash was another quiet hero. A tin opened with a twist key. Potatoes mashed and fried till crisp at the edges. A dash of Worcestershire sauce to wake it all up. It was the meal of paydays and tight weeks alike. Comforting, reliable, always enough to go round. And then Meal 5 bread and dripping. A slice of working-class poetry, the cooled fat from the Sunday roast spread on thick-cut bread, sprinkled with salt. It was the taste of childhoods, shaped by thrift and contentment. Meal 6. Stew and dumplings. Slow-cooked and steaming, the kind of meal that could feed 6 on scraps. You could leave it bubbling all afternoon, thickening as the day went on, the smell lingering in the air like a promise. Every spoonful was a comfort, every dumpling soft as a cloud, carrying warmth into weary hands. Meal 7. Peas pudding, that northern staple, pale, smooth, and hearty. Boiled for hours till thick and spreadable, served with ham or bread. It wasn't glamorous, but it was filling. A reminder that sustenance didn't need to shout to be strong. Meal 8. Sweat pudding followed, heavy, hearty, wrapped in cloth and boiled till dense as a brick, yet soft enough to slice. For the miners and factory men, it was a brick of energy, pure and simple. You could feel its weight, taste the labour it was made for. Meal 9. Lancashire hot pot, the pride of the north. Thin slices of potato layered with meat and onions, slow baked till the edges browned and crisped. Its smell would drift down cobbled streets, pulling neighbours to windows. It wasn't just dinner, it was identity, the spirit of a county in a single dish. And there were Meal 10 faggots and peas, rich, earthy, and unmistakably British. Made from offcuts and offal, bound with seasoning and care, a dish born of necessity but kept for love. Those who grew up with it still talk of it with a glint in their eyes, not for the taste alone, but for what it represented. Nothing wasted, everything earned. Meal 11 jam roly-poly, rolled by hand, filled with whatever jam could be found, steamed till soft, served swimming in custard. It wasn't just dessert, it was joy you could spoon. Meal 12. Bread and butter pudding made from stale crusts layered with sugar, milk, and eggs. Nothing wasted, everything transformed. You could taste the care in every bite. Mothers turning scraps into magic. Meal 13. Treacle sponge. Golden syrup seeping through soft sponge, sticky, sweet, and radiant as a summer memory. Meal 14. Then Spotted Dick, a name that brought giggles from children and nostalgia from grown-ups, studded with currants, drizzled with custard. It was the kind of pudding that belonged to laughter and warmth. And then there was Meal 15 rice pudding. Simple, comforting, endlessly British. Slow cooked in the oven till a golden skin formed on top, creamy beneath. Every family had their way. A bit more sugar, a pinch of nutmeg, a spoon of jam stirred through. Meal 16, tripe and onions. Once a northern staple, became a whisper from the past. Its boiling scent, strong and unforgettable, was the smell of survival. A meal born from what others threw away. To those who grew up with it, it isn't disgust that memory brings. It's love for the people who made it and the care that went into every plate. Meal 17. Cow heel pie followed it into memory. Rich gelatinous gravy, a dish that filled the coldest nights. Meal 18. Pig's trotters, simmered for hours, yielding every ounce of flavor. These meals carried a kind of respect for the animal, for the effort, for the art of making something from nothing. Meal 19. Broth and barley, once a staple in working kitchens, now rarely seen beyond old cookbooks. And Meal 20. Mock turtle soup, an echo of Victorian thrift, where ingenuity met imitation. They vanished as supermarkets replaced butchers, as Britain's hunger changed, as affluence made the humble seem unnecessary. And yet, not all these meals disappeared entirely. Some endured, quietly asserting their place in Britain's kitchens and hearts. Meal 21. Shepherd's pie, with tender lamb beneath a golden crust of mashed potato, remained a family favourite. Each forkful told the story of Sunday tables, of hands teaching hands how to shape the mash just so, how to brown the top for that perfect crisp. It connected past and present, a bridge of tradition that survived the years. Meal 22. Steak and kidney pie, flaky pastry, sheltering rich, hearty filling, became a staple of pubs and local bakeries. Its steam rising as you cut into it, the aroma filling the room, still brings people together. It is comfort, nostalgia, and sustenance all in one. Meal 23. Beans on toast, humble, cheap, and endlessly satisfying, persisted through decades. An icon of student kitchens, late-night suppers, and quiet weekday dinners. It's simple, yet reliable, a meal that carries the flavor of continuity. Meal 24. Fish and chips, the national treasure, never lost its crown. Wrapped in brown paper, salt and vinegar stinging fingers, the crunch of batter, the softness of the fish inside. Seaside towns, smoke-filled chippies, Saturday night trips. It is a ritual of joy, laughter, and community. Eating it, you taste the Britain that persists, even as the world changes. And finally, the Meal 25 cottage pie, the beefy sibling to shepherd's pie, rounds out this collection of enduring classics. Thick, hearty, and lovingly prepared, it reminds us that some comforts are timeless. Families still gather around it, just as they have for generations, connecting across time through the act of sharing food. These dishes endure because they were never just meals. They were stories, told with a wooden spoon, baked in a tray, stirred in a pot. They taught patience, resilience, and pride. Grandparents showing grandchildren how to make gravy properly. Fathers carving meat at the table. Mothers stirring sauce with quiet rhythm. These rituals tied people together, and in some small way, tied us to the past. From the soot of coal fires to the neon of supermarkets, the spirit of working-class Britain simmers quietly in these enduring dishes. They remind us that our strength was never measured by luxury or display, but by the ability to create warmth, nourishment, and joy from what we had. And still, the faded recipes and vanished plates whisper from memory. Tripe and onions, cow heel pie, pig's trotters, broth and barley, mock turtle soup. They may not fill our modern tables, but they fill our stories, our hearts, our imagination. Each steam rising from a forgotten pot is a connection to a Britain of ingenuity and endurance, a Britain of love and laughter, of effort and survival. The kitchens may have modernized, but the rhythm remains. We can still hear it in our minds. The hiss of the kettle, the clatter of pans, the low murmur of voices sharing the day's news. These meals taught patience, community, and resourcefulness. They remind us that sustenance was more than fuel. It was ritual, pride, and creativity. Look closer and you see more than dishes. You see the story of families, neighborhoods, and a nation forged in simplicity. Each bite carried history, identity, and memory. They are monuments not of stone, but of taste and touch, of smell and warmth. Progress brought convenience, but it also brought silence. Microwaves replaced simmering pots. Frozen meals replaced slow-cooked gravies. Plastic containers replaced enamel bowls. Yet memory hung on, stubborn and fragrant. The aromas of onions frying, stews bubbling, puddings steaming, they remain unforgotten. And so we remember. We remember the laughter around a jam roly-poly, the pride in a perfect toad in the hole, the ritual of shepherd's pie on a Sunday evening. We remember the meals that powered the miners, the dockers, the factory hands, and the women who stretched every shilling into love. Because these meals weren't just about feeding stomachs. They were about feeding spirits. They told us who we were, resilient, resourceful, proud, and bound together by shared struggle and simple joys. Every bubble and squeak, every faggot and pea, every corned beef hash or bread and dripping carried the story of Britain itself. Which of these working class dishes do you remember most? Which scent takes you back to your childhood kitchen? To the voices, the laughter, the steam rising from the pot? Share your story, because these weren't just meals of the past. They are the taste of who we were, and quietly, who we still are. And if you listen closely, somewhere in Britain, the kettle hisses again. Steam curls from a cast iron stove. The smell of onions and gravy drifts through a terraced street, mingling with the smell of coal smoke and rain-soaked stone. Somewhere, a pie is baking, a pudding is steaming, and a nation remembers. These are not just recipes. They are monuments to endurance, celebration, and memory. They remind us that even in the smallest kitchens, the simplest meals, Britain was nourished, not only in body, but in spirit. And perhaps, in making them again, even for one evening, we keep that spirit alive, sharing warmth, joy, and continuity, plate by plate, memory by memory. Because in every steaming dish, in every clatter of pans, in every aroma that drifts through the air, the soul of working-class Britain still feeds us. The meals may have faded from tables, but the memories remain, simmering quietly, rich with history, heart, and hope. And somewhere, the steam rises again. Somewhere, a family gathers. Somewhere, Britain remembers itself. One plate, one smell, one story at a time.